So the whole point of temporal ellipses is you're taking something that happens in real time and you're compressing it. So as you can see that this run towards takes 13 seconds of real time for her to complete the action. And so what we want to do is we want to try to use editing to make this a little bit faster. And then we can also use editing to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic and make it slower. So the first thing we'll have to do is we have to decide which are the best parts of this video. So this part of the video really doesn't show anything that I'm interested in. So it might be good for us to actually start with the run past clip. So the run past clip actually starts here because you actually see her on screen, whereas before she doesn't. So you can actually start here, hit your in key, and then so the camera moves. So you always want to avoid camera moves. So I'm going to set an out point and then pop that onto the timeline. And of course you could just avoid that one altogether if you want to. And then we'll do our run towards. And then as soon as she comes up to the screen, so this is where we want to kind of look at where that last frame is. And we want to advance it just a few seconds or so because she's still looking. So see, like this would be about the place if I were to match it exactly, if you can see these two shots. But you want to advance it just a few frames forward and maybe get her starting to move. So you hit it in and then you have her running. She runs past. She's a terrible runner, by the way. And then I'm probably not going to use this whole shot, but I'm going to lay that down anyway. So I'm going to insert that on the timeline. Make my timeline a little bit bigger. And then we'll look back at the run past clip and see if we can pick it up at a better place. And so again, we want to look at this clip and see how we can advance it. So she's kind of like there. And let's see if we can advance it so it's a little bit shorter. She's a terrible runner. So maybe pick it up here. Set it in. And then she comes to the ladder. So I'm going to pop it in right about there. And now I'm going to hit it overwrite. And then she's going to, so I'm going to clip the end of that. And then she comes to the ladder. And she arrives. So, we don't need her. This is obviously a different shot. So then we want to actually think about that last point right there. So she comes there. She's got hands on the ladder. So now let's advance it just a few seconds. Oops. So let's advance it a few seconds or a few frames. So this would be about the same point as my last frame here. But let's advance it a few frames so she's actually starting to climb. So let's get her head to move as well. And she doesn't need to be doing all of it. Okay? So then you add that onto the timeline. Okay? Actually, I hit insert rather than overwrite. So I'm going to overwrite it. So now you have this clip. So it was originally like 12 seconds, and now we've compressed it. Oh, there it is right there. So now we've compressed it to 9. So that ultimately is what you want to do. And you can even not even start with this first shot here. So this is simply all we needed to really do. So we have that. And so now I'm not really too happy with some of the edits that I did. And so you can use ripple And remember, ripple is going to affect one single clip, the in or the out point. And you can adjust the in or the out. So this one I'm setting the out. And then I'm going to adjust the in of this one. And maybe adjust it a little bit further. And notice that it snaps into place. And you could even advance it even more, so using that ripple and actually have her starting to run and see what that looks like. So notice that I'm using this ripple function, so that way she's not doing that weird stutter step and she's actually going to start running. Okay? So then you have, so as it looks a little awkward, so I might need to adjust the out. Of that one clip. And then, so then you can also use the roll tool. And the roll tool allows you to adjust the in and the out point of something simultaneously. So I might want to shorten this clip on one side or the other. So that way this clip is longer now. And then play it, see how that looks. Okay. And then, again, I'm not crazy about just this lag. So she kind of stops. So then I go back to my ripple. And I'm going to back it up significantly so that, as you can see on the left side, she arrives. So she's just arriving, and now it seems a little bit better. So you're going, so she's run. So see how it moves a little bit faster, and then it's 6 seconds rather than that 12. So I can still use the same sequence to work with my temporal expansion, but I might just decide not to. But obviously, if I wanted to work with that same sequence, I could create a new sequence and call it expansion, and just drag this. This is a sequence, as you can see from the icon here, and this nesting needs to be on in order to do that. So I can just drag that onto my timeline, and so I'm going to change sequence settings. So that's your nesting. But I might want to start fresh, and obviously if I want to do that, I can do that. So we originally have this, so if we use temporal ellipses, we shorten this to about 6 or 7 seconds. Let's see if the original clip, which is it run toward? I think it's, run towards, yeah, run towards is originally 13 seconds duration. You can see 13 seconds duration there. Let's see if we can expand that to make it a little bit longer. So let's try to add a couple of tweaks there. And as always, you want to avoid having any camera mistakes. So with temporal expansion, you want to highlight certain things. And so we might start with this run past. And so obviously you wouldn't have this in there, but you want to start on the action regardless. So even though in shooting, you might have some camera wiggling, you want to get rid of that because you're an editor. So I'm going to have her, so right before the camera moves around, do the same thing as she did there. And then I'm going to add that to my timeline. And then I'm going to use the run towards. And then I can pick it up. So I can pick it up almost exactly where she was. So as you can see, she had her hand almost at, it looks like it was at the wall. So let's see if we can just, so she's touching the wall there. So I'll set my in there. And then kind of see what happens. And she runs, and arrives. Okay, so now let's add this onto the timer. I'm going to hit overwrite because I'm going to clip this last little bit. So now we have this. So this is actually kind of mimicking real time. And then, so she comes at the ladder. And if I want, I can back it up just a scotch and go back to run past and notice that if I want to have this additional shot, but I'm not crazy about this shot because she's far away and it doesn't do anything for me. So we can extend this to when she arrives at the ladder, and then you can just use the regular selection tool to just expand it so she's right there. So she's got her hand there. Her hands are on the ladder. She's just about to step. Now she's looking away. So the selection tool will work fine there, but when you have a lot of other clips in your sequence, the selection tool doesn't work. That's why you got to use ripple and roll. And so then I want to pick up the ladder clip. And so now we want to, rather than have her, you know, because she noticed that she doesn't, when she comes here, she's not, you know, clapping her hands back together. So you want to make sure she's not doing that in this clip, because that's obviously her, you know, the mistake in continuity in the shooting. So we have her hands there, and then she looks away. So let's see if she's looking away there in this shot. She has her hands down. So she doesn't look away in that shot. So we might need to back it up and pick it up where her hands are actually on there. So I'm going to set it in, and now we'll have her climbing. Okay. And then I'm going to overwrite it so I can kill the last bit. So now our shots are, even though we still are working with the same 3 shots, we haven't quite expanded it too much because we cut out the camera mistakes. So it's still 10 seconds, but in order to create a little bit of drama, we can add some ramping. So your control click or right click on your time remap and hit speed. And as you know, this sort of changes. And so you hit command and then click, and that sets a keyframe. And then you'll click another one. And then to slow it down, you'll need to, so you can slow it down to maybe about 50%. And it should, I don't know why it's not rippling. It should be rippling. And I don't know why, because it's rippled in the past. It might be the settings on mine. But I can certainly use my ripple tool. Turn off snapping. And I can extend it a little bit longer. So then we have something that looks like this. So she runs. Actually, it kind of looks kind of weird. So I'm going to shorten it a little bit. Oh, it's because I have it 45%. So anything less than 50% really looks kind of strange. So notice that I created a gap. And I still want to slow-mo this as well. So you can vary your rate of speed. And that's really what I want to do. And so because she's in slow-mo there, you might want to also have her at that same rate there. So here we go, Control click, time remap, speed, and set your keyframes. And so I'm going to zoom in a little bit more to make sure I get it at the top. Pop it in there. There's that right there. And then at some point in time, she's gonna have to go normal speed. And then, so I'm gonna hit another keyframe there. Keyframe, okay. And then we'll slow it down to about the same rate. Slow it down, slow it down. Slow it down. And again, I don't know why it's not rippling, but it should be rippling. So she's slowing. And now she's quickening up. And so again, we cut off some of our shot because I don't know why it's. Remember, we extended it there. And so she's running at normal speed here. And then I could set it to, oops. So I could set it more keyframes here and, oops, wrong button. And I could adjust it here as well. And as you know, like if you split these apart, you should be able to split these apart. And I don't know why mine isn't working, but you should be able to split these apart so you can ramp them. And I don't know if just because I'm working with so few frames. There it goes. I don't know why. And again, I don't know why it's not ramping either. So she's slowing down here. And then, of course, you want to have her slow down as well. So you'll hit more keyframes there. So ultimately, you'll have, so if I wanted to expand it a little bit longer, keeping those shots in, and again, it should be rippling, and I don't know why. So now I'm essentially sort of keeping the same. I also want to use a little bit of ramping and time remap there. But so notice that we have a little bit different effect. And so you're varying the speed within the clip to create emphasis. And so that's how you do those.